Hi, you're with Scott. I'm Ganji Kid. I'm the Grave Kipper. I'm the Super Chuffer. I'm with Steve of the Dead. This is Thus, a podcast about how people think, feel and behave. Today we're going to look at criminals who made appeals or did interviews, and it turned out that they were guilty of the very crimes that they were appealing to the public to help solve. I'm joined by forensic psychologist Steve of the Dead, who will give us insight into the minds of the people and how the police profile and attempt to catch them. So Tia was living at her mother's house. This is her mother, and her grandmother was going out with this guy, Stuart Hazell, and over a period of time, Stuart Hazell had been getting horny about Tia, taking videos and photos of her without her knowing necessarily. After the case, they found a lot of this horrible material in, generic horrible material on his phone. So it was a bit of a strange one when Tia decided Tia stayed over at his house, their house, her grandmother's house, but her grandmother wasn't there, just Stuart was. And then the next day she walked off into Croydon to go shopping and never turned up again. Stuart was adamant she left the house, and there was a missing campaign. The next door neighbour actually told the police that they'd seen her leave. So there was this, campaign going on to try and help find her. And, during this this campaign, we've got
a lot of tabs open.
Yeah, a lot of tabs open. Yeah. So I just lined it up then, actually, didn't I? This is Tia's uncle,
yeah,
and the campaign. So this is somebody who was innocent of any wrongdoing, and this is an official, appeal that we watched on the
taken on Thursday evening, Thursday the 2nd, before she went missing. And in it, she's wearing the outer clothing that we believe she was wearing when she went missing. The only difference, you can see it's a yellow vest top. And on the front of it, there's a pattern. It's an animal of some description, possibly. She wore pink
David Sharp
Nike swoosh on, so that's a slight difference.
Tia's uncle David Sharp also made an appeal, begging for her to come home.
This channel that I'm watching quickly, I want to shout it out, is called Truly Criminal, and they do a really good analysis. Like, they just give all the nice facts in a nice order. So thanks Truly Criminal. They've got loads and loads of subscribers. Subscribe to my channel, you chuffers. Here we go.
She is a 12-year-old normal girl. She has never run away. She's got no reason to run away. She is a playful child. She's not an adult form of any way, but she is very clued up in travelling and local areas and people she knows.
So that all seems okay, doesn't it?
Come home, phone the police, anything.
I mean, it does seem a bit weird that she was off on her own, but that appeal from her uncle, it's all the right things that you'd look for in an appeal, I guess. It's like the correct, like, giving us all the details and information about who she is and what to look for, and then a direct appeal, please come home, like.
And I want to say thank you to the police for doing everything that they can, and the public for being our support and being out there day and night. So,
that's him doing that. And then we've also got, in contrast to that, I suppose, there's not much to say psychologically, is there, about someone who's innocent, really, maybe? Unless you
This is Debbie's nightmare.
Anything to say about that?
You could sort of use them as an example to say, hey, look, here's how, behaviours might be misinterpreted. I'm assuming, was her uncle, ever sort of, suspected of it?
I don't think, as much as...
He sort of has that sort of look of a guy who's a little bit dodgy, and especially if he's trying to talk and he's stammering or he's his lips are twitching, and it's he might be a nervous tick. He's speaking as the uncle, which is good because typically your family's too distraught, to speak, and that's why they have relatives out saying things usually. So, that alone doesn't sort of make me think, oh, why is he speaking? But you could sort of see how a certain mannerism or a certain behaviour might be seen by people as, oh, that's a bit dodge. He's giving away something there.
Nothing that
if they were guilty, again, like Ian, they'd have carried it very well. They'd have hidden it very well and sort of presented as innocent quite convincingly.
We'll get on to later about Crime Watch and the culture of these appeals, but I think that was a legit, thing. And then
going up to Croydon for about, she wanted to get up early. She picked up your mum's DS up, played the DS for a little while. I said, well, we're going to have some breakfast. So I made her some toast, and she had the toast, and then she wanted a sausage roll, because she's always eating sausage rolls. basically then she was sitting there, she doesn't take her washing up out, so I took her washing up out. Just started doing a little bit of washing up in the kitchen. She was in there, she was telling me what she was doing, but I weren't really logging it into my head. I didn't. You know what I mean? They talk to you, it goes in one ear, stays there for a second, it goes out, you know what I mean? As I was hoovering, then she walked past me from the front room to go out, and she walked out the front door, that is all I know. And she left her phone on charge because I told her to sit there and leave her phone on charge. I didn't mean leave it on charge, because what's her doing, she plays on the BB thing, but then she uses it as it's charging, so there's no charge going through to it. So when I said to her, just leave your phone on charge, it means leave her phone on charge, not use it, let it charge up a bit, then you can actually take it with you or whatever, because she's been responsible to go to Croydon before. She's been responsible to go on trains and buses and trams and everything before on her own.
So I'll just pause that there then. I want to say quickly, this is Mark Williams Thomas. This is Mark Williams Thomas, the interviewer. He is actually quite a notorious, like getting to be quite well known and quite good. I really like his work. I think he does a really good job, Mark Williams Thomas. If he's ever listening to anything I say, like, you know, come on the show, please, he'll be good. So he's doing a really interesting thing here, which is he lets him do the appeal first, and then he kind of asks him what really happened. You know, tell me the story. Is there anything that waves its flag there, or is that the cat I can hear on your microphone?
That is the cat. If you could hear that noise, that is my cat rubbing against the arm of my microphone. Sorry.
Okay.
Right, come on.
So on first viewing of Stuart Hazell, we've got a contrast there between the people doing the appeal and, you know, please come home. If there's anything wrong, you know, just come home. This is what she looks like. Stuart, I'll let you. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're the forensic psychologist. What did you think of his testimony?
I think the interviewer did a really good job then of letting him just talk, because in contrast to Ian Huntley, who was straightforward to the point, there was a little bit of extraneous information that made you think, oh, that's quite plausible with Ian Huntley, but he stuck very quickly to a script. You know, I was outside, I saw them, they came here, and then they walked off. That's a very straightforward thing to follow. By contrast, he rambled a lot. He did the thing with DSP does, because I know there's a couple of tractors in chat, but he did that thing where he will talk and he will add extraneous information that's unrelated to the actual question. So the question, you know, where is she? And he starts talking about leaving the phone on charge and what that means because she plays a game. And we don't need to know that. You could have just said, I said leave a phone on charge, and she left it, you know, and anyone normal would say, you know, I told her to leave the phone on charge. Anyone normal, anyone innocent, if you were innocent, if she had walked out and you didn't know where the hell she'd gone, I'm kicking myself. I wish I'd never told her to take the phone. I wish I'd never told her to leave a phone. I should have told her to take a phone. You know, you would have been like that, and you would have been straightforward to the point. But he rambled, and the interviewer let him. The interviewer let him keep talking. Didn't cut him off. Didn't wait for him to just waited until he finished. And that was great, because, again, when you're innocent, you tend to be shorter and clearer and more straightforward. He was nervous. He was a bit fidgety. There was a bit of, you know, a bit of movement, a bit of looking around. Again, you can't always use that alone. So, but the way he was talking and the rambling like I've been doing, it was very
my nan used to
suggestive.
My nan used to say Nan knows, and she used to, like, you know, have the last word on stuff and say that Nan knows. And I remember a lot of the time, bless her, you know, God rest her soul, with these news stories and stuff, she'd watch like 5 minutes of someone like this on the news and just go, he's done it. And I go, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Why do you think that? And she go, Nan knows. And there is something almost just base human about finding someone suspicious or shifty, isn't there? And it's not always the case that that's the truth of the matter, but he doesn't come across very well at all in this, does he?
Out of Croydon before, she was responsible to go on trains and buses and trams and everything before on her own.
So when she walked past you and out to the door, did she say anything?
She said, goodbye. Well, I said, well, make sure you're back at 6. She went, yeah. And that was it, and then the door closed and she walks out. I don't take precise times and things like that, but when she walked out that door, I know damn well it was 12:10, according to my clock, because as I was hoovering up the dog's mess by my kitchen, I look up and I've got a great big clock in front of me on the cooker, which says 12:10.
Now listen, you've been living in house arrest,
basically,
almost, for the last 7 days almost now. How's that been?
Oh, it's been horrible.
He means house arrest because of all the press outside. He doesn't mean that he's literally been arrested, but it's
Yeah,
very
it's
strange.
not literally the house arrest, but
Horrible. Do you know what I mean? The families, we're stuck inside here. Do you know what I mean? We've got all the papers outside, all putting accusations down, and they asked me stupid questions yesterday, like, "Oh, did you do anything?" I said, "Well, no, I didn't. Excuse my language, but no, I didn't. I'd never think of that. I'd loved her to bits. She's like my own daughter, for God's sake. We had that sort of relationship. It was that sort of thing. It was just, you know, she wanted it, she got it. She's got a loving home. She's never gone without anything, so I can't work it out. What the hell's going on? They're all out there. They want to report the truth."
So do you feel under pressure? Do you feel that perhaps the people are looking at you?
Well, if they believe what they read in the papers, they can do whatever they like. Because I know deep down in my heart that Tia walked out of my house. She walked out there, and I know damn well because she was seen walking down the pathway. I know she made that track down to that way. What happened after that is I don't know.
Which is a barefaced lie. So anything standing out for you there? Because again, just like that first interview with Soham, Ian Huntley, he's now like looking into into the person's eyes. He's raising his eyebrows. He's giving it the old "I'm innocent" look.
really trying to be serious. Yeah. But again, the sort of like rambling answers and the extraneous information makes it suspect, because why would you need to give that info? Why would it matter? When they say, "So do you think people are looking at you?" You'd just be like, "Well, I don't care. Fuck them. I know I'm not. I know I'm not guilty." And you sort of like leave it there. You wouldn't need to say anything else, but there's a rambling, extraneous loop to it that most people would excise to keep it concise.
It does strike up some worrying chords then. So my next question would be, as let's say for example you're cat's having a right go. Let's say for example you're assisting the police and they say, "Look at this interview, we think it's fishy." Do you then say to them, "I think you want to bring him in for further questioning and search the house more," or do you say to them, "I'm pretty sure it's him," or do you say, like, people can be fishy? Like, what sort of thing is the next step from a psychological, like, I'm kind of saying, did you watch this and have him for the
if they
murder?
ask you to evaluate him, you might do, but you would recommend interview. But the police would probably already be doing that anyway. They probably already
so do you watch this and have him for the murder yourself then, like personally, like you watching it, like before, like trying to forget the hindsight bit? Do you watch that and think this guy's probably done it, and do you say to your self or not, like what?
I don't know if I'd say just based on that he's done it, but I would say he's very suspicious, and like the police should be looking more at him, because there is a lot of nervousness to his speech and his body language that does sort of like suggest that there might be something there, that he might be trying to deceive somehow. Like maybe even if he didn't kill her, he might know something about it, but yeah. You wouldn't necessarily say based on that, he's guilty. That would definitely be you should bring him in for further questioning, though.
Okay, so it turned out then that it went on several days of this campaign and, try and find Tia and people looking and stuff like that. And there was basically a breakthrough when the police searched the house a fourth time. So on 10th of August, she went...
Fourth time?
Yeah, she'd left the house on the 3rd of August, and on 10th of August, the body was discovered. And it was also, I think, because the grandmother had come back home and she reported there was a smell. And what he'd done is he'd put her body up in the loft, sealed her up in bin bags, and he'd rolled up her clothes in newspaper and stuff, put it all in these bin bags, and he'd actually pushed it right down into the eaves of the loft and gaffer taped it in. So it was like it was not just like, she hadn't just been put in the loft, she'd been really
properly hidden.
There.
An attempt had been made to hide her.
Yeah, and the police said that that because of that as well, and the heat in the loft, it became difficult to ascertain an exact, like most of the DNA evidence and stuff like that had been destroyed, and deciding on an exact cause of death was difficult. But again, they assumed asphyxiation. I think because there wasn't any blood spatter in the house or any sign of cleaning or anything like that. But yeah, like what you're saying in chat's probably right. Yeah, fermented, pickled up in the...
It's more pathology than anything else, that, but you would look at stuff like if there were any obvious cuts or bruises to the body, and then you can determine whether they're pre or post mortem, depending on like the extent of bruising. But
then
after a while, the body does start to decompose.
Then also we've got the fact that once they'd found her, obviously, he was chief suspect, he was brought in, and the police then recovered his phone and images on the phone of horrible things with children, and they also discovered that he'd posed her dead body. The pathologist guessed that she was dead at the time, and taken photographs of that, so that was pretty horrible. They also found a memory stick that was hidden in a door jamb, like in between some bits of wood, that found more horrible images.
God.
And the suggestion, here's one for you, the forensic psychologist Dr. Kerry Nixon suggested he might have kept the images for sexual gratification, like the images of her dead body, and so it all did
Sort of like a trophy.
So
That's a fairly common thing with many of these killers. They'll keep a little trophy, something to remind them of the kill. It tends to be more serial killers than like your random one-off killers like this, but it's not uncommon. It's not unheard of.
Yeah, because I'll get on to ask you what you think of him again. We'll watch him talk just 1 second, then I'll say right now again. But interestingly about this case as well, one final piece of what I find quite insidious is that he pled not guilty all the way, and then it went to court, and then they showed the pictures in the court, and then the mother had to see the pictures, and then after that he decided to plead guilty. After dragging them through all of that, he decided to plead guilty, but up until that point he had gone not guilty all the way, which seems kind of insane to me, confronted with that sort of evidence. So yeah, I'll just play this last bit again, and then we'll say, on reflection now, what do you see in this?
It's been horrible. Do you know what I mean? The families, we're stuck inside here, do you know what I mean? We've got all the papers outside, all putting accusations down, and they asked me stupid questions yesterday, like, oh, did you do anything? I said, well, no, I didn't. Excuse my language, but no, I didn't. I'd never think of that. I'd love her to be, she's like my own daughter.
See, all
for
that
God's
now.
sake. We had that sort of relationship. It was that sort of thing. It was just...
All that stuff is extraneous. All you need is no, I didn't. Even if it's like, fuck off, no, I didn't. Excuse me language. No, I didn't. That's all you need. You don't need that. I love her like a daughter. We had that sort of relationship. We got on great. She was fantastic. The favourite time was spent sitting with her watching telly on a Friday night. You don't need any of that. Most people don't need to go that far. So
two things stand out to me really in gruesome ways. He actually uses the word stuck about being stuck in.
The families, we're stuck inside here, do you know what I mean?
We're stuck inside here, and she was like, gaffer taped up in the loft, like stuck up there with gaffer tape. Do you think, again, like... So
he might have enjoyed that. He might have enjoyed, knowing that. That could have been a deliberate choice.
And what about these choices? Because he's brought these people into the house. Like, they're literally in the house. She's up in the loft at this point. And, he's decided, I want to talk to this guy theoretically is the press, although he's an investigative journalist who turns out to work closely with the police to get these people's stories on record and expose them in a way. So I'd have him not just as a journalist, but a bit more than a journalist. But so he's accepted the idea of them coming in doing the campaign. He's put the stickers up on the wall behind him, and then they're in there talking. She's upstairs in the loft. Like, what goes through someone's head? What sort of personality? And is he a normal bloke that's just gone off a bit off the rails? Like, there's more to this, isn't there? Because he's got this backstory of finding children sexually attractive sort of thing, hasn't he? So you go and tell me some psychology on
He
this
seems
chopper.
given his history, he seems more like he's less an opportunistic predator like Huntley. He will have had access to this girl constantly. He would have had access to it, or at least found it easy to get to her. So there was probably a fair bit of grooming that went on as well. And if he's kept trophies, that shows it's about power. It's about power over her. It was a thing that he did to get an element of joy and gratification from the, holding a life in your hands, as it were. There's an almost sexual element of it to him, and the fact that he's got images hidden shows that he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing is wrong, so he's got full capacity. You wouldn't be able to say you can't find him guilty through reason of insanity or something like that. He would be a valid and legitimate person to be in court and to charge. So, but to have the I can only think it's a power thing for him. Like with Huntley, he enjoyed knowing that he was feeding people lies when he'd talk about, I saw the girls and then they went out. He enjoyed like being in control of that. Whereas here he has the situation to be in control of. He's invited them in and he knows that she's up there and he's feeding them all these lies. So again, there's an element of power to it that only he knows. And there's a thrill to that. There's an enjoyment to that. There's a sense of satisfaction to that. I'm deceiving you all. It's almost like thinking I'm a genius. Obviously I don't think he did, but Huntley probably thought he was smarter than he was. So
it's strange.
It just definitely feels like a power thing. Like you're coming in and getting off on the idea that you know something they don't.
It's strange to me that these people are not very powerful in their daily lives. Like Huntley was a caretaker at a school. This guy doesn't appear to be in some sort of high status job, and yet like this idea that they are superior or powerful, and it requires quite, therefore, I suppose, a vulnerable victim, because like you're not going to go out like taking on gangs of lads outside the pub, are you? So like is there some feature there in the this dynamic of like this illusion of power requires a vulnerable victim, I'm guessing?
Inherently, yeah, because the sort of the value of it is that the balance of power being skewed so far in your favor, and especially because fantasy is often a reflection of like the inverse of your reality. So if you are in like a low status job, you might have elements of fantasy where you're a dominant person in a BDSM relationship and people are submissive to you, or you might be a sadistic and so you might have fantasies about hurting people and enjoying their pain. So the element of power to that fantasy is just it's common in people, like you said, like only low paying jobs and sort of social status.
I've got a question, because that's also like the Yorkshire Ripper was in. It was like a. It's not there's anything wrong with like working as a mechanic or anything like that, but he was in a manual labour sort of job, and like this expression of power. He was quite a short chap as well, wasn't he? And then this expression of power over people by murdering them. It makes me wonder: should we suspect traffic wardens? Hello, SSTV DDD. We've got all the different letters in chat today, haven't we? I'll tell you what as well, my chat, I like the idea that we've got lots of different people that we bring in from different areas. So if anyone's, everyone's welcome. And if anyone's got anything they want to say in chat or any ideas, like pop them in, absolutely. And I generally don't try and block anyone or, suspend anyone or put them in the naughty chair. But as long as we all get along, it's all good in the hood. Yeah, so
plus it means at least someone's going to get a DSP reference. You can drop one, and then at least someone in chat's going to get it.
Yeah.
So speaking of compulsive liars,
yeah. So this guy just barefaced to the investigation, drivelling lies. I don't know how he expected to get it. Like personally, I don't know how he expected to get away with this, because I think this is quite a poor performance. Like on reflection, all this, he seems nervous, he seems uncomfortable, he's looking away and down, and he's drivelling through these little details that it almost seems contrived.
And she was sitting there, and she doesn't take her washing up out, so I took her washing up out. Just started doing.
There was even a smile there where he was laughing about the washing up, which is not the right sort of emotion to be having at this time. I thought it was a pretty poor performance all round, and raised flags at the time. Yeah.
See, okay, right. That sort of thing is, again, it's difficult because there are times when memory will flash through your mind, and you'll have a quick micro expression in response to it. He might. If you were taking the perspective of he was innocent at the time, you might sort of like say, well, it could have been an ongoing thing. She could have always been, leaving the washing up, and it became a thing between them where he's like, oh, you've not done the washing up again. Oh, I'll do it again. And, he acts like he's annoyed with her, but really deep down, he knows, she's a young girl. It's just the washing up. I'll do it. It's fine. No big deal. And it becomes a thing to him, like trying to get the kids to clean their bedroom, stuff like that. And so there's like a positive emotion associated with that memory. So when he's talking about, so did the washing up, even though, usually a thing that she doesn't do the washing up, that flash of positive feeling and that sort of positive emotion will flash through. And then obviously the dominant emotion of sadness and the situation that you're in does take over, and your emotion does change again. Your facial expressions do change, but it's not always a an indicator by itself, you know, with everything else going on, and obviously with the benefit of hindsight.
I've heard a phrase in body language circles where they say clusters, and they're looking for multiple things. It's not just a one and done
one-off thing.
Although I suppose coming on to our next case, right then, so I'm going to jump us now from the UK over to the US of A. We're going to jump across the pond, and
oh, great, we're doing Stephen. Great.
Yeah, this is